Great. Hi. Yeah, I'm Karen Shawn. I'm here with Matt Jordan from Northwestern University Libraries. So we're here to talk a little bit about what we've been doing over the past year to build a scalable serverless API that returns any search result as a IIIF collection. And this is a presentation that we gave earlier in the week to the virtual IIIF conference as well. So we call this as if, since our implementation involves query parameters, but it's really about a simple decision we made to see all of our data as IIIF, and the power that aligning with this community standard gives us, both in terms of rethinking what a backend really is, and also in designing an ecosystem of interoperable UI components. So prior to this year, we stored IIIF manifests as static files in S3. Our ingest website, Meadow, which is a custom Elixir React application, currently does two things when works are ingested or updated. It indexes them into AWS OpenSearch, and it writes the IIIF manifest file to an AWS S3 bucket. The OpenSearch endpoint sits behind a simple Lambda proxy, which performs authentication. And that proxy Lambda became known as our DC API for Digital Collections API. The pages on our Digital Collections front-end website were powered by the OpenSearch results from DC API. The UI components were built around the shape of our OpenSearch data response. So they were therefore very brittle and unprotected against change. We had a little bit of IIIF that was sprinkled on top, mainly to support the viewer shown on the work pages. So for that, we made a separate network request to retrieve the IIIF manifest file. While overall this approach worked and scaled well, we did have a pain point in that if we changed anything, we had to regenerate hundreds of thousands of text files. We also had no IIIF collection implementation because we couldn't figure out how to solve some of the more dynamic requirements of collections. So in early 2022, we began planning a complete redesign of our Digital Collections front-end website, and we wanted to redesign our DC API to directly map analogous endpoints. We wanted the endpoints to be more RESTful, and we wanted to support serialization into different data formats like RDF or Dublin Core. Around this time, we had a light bulb moment and thought, what if IIIF was just another serialization type like RDF? Not only did this mean we could request a work by ID as a IIIF manifest, but we could also return any search result as a IIIF collection. This was a huge shift in our thinking. If IIIF is everywhere, our whole way of thinking about what our backend and API were changed. Maybe IIIF can power more things. Our front-end components can be built around the IIIF standard instead of our own unique data shape, making our components more interoperable. Next, so for DC API version 2, what this means is we no longer have to maintain the static text files for manifests, pay for storage, etc. We can simply serialize search requests or single document requests into IIIF format. We have more flexibility in terms of versioning, changing content, etc. We implemented this as a serverless application using AWS SAM. It is made up of several lightweight Node.js Lambda handlers and supporting files, sits behind the API gateway. The transformation into IIIF is handled utilizing the IIIF Builder community package. It is extremely fast, scalable, lightweight, easy to version and change. A lot of folks have asked us about costs. It is also extremely cost effective. As an example, for 1 million requests taking 20 milliseconds per response, the cost totals about 4 cents. And now I will turn it over to Matt to dive into what as if means for the UI side.
Yeah, so we're also redesigning our digital collection site alongside building this API. And we're using that as IIIF model wherever possible to deliver data to the front end. And so here's a screenshot of our search results page that is under development. And we believe that the search responses rendered here can also be delivered by IIIF and not necessarily our own bespoke data model. So for example, if a user were to search for dogs and be shown 8 results on screen, like bulldog, husky, etc. here, each one of these results would be an items entry in a IIIF collection. Note that the ID of this collection includes the as IIIF parameter. And in this case, there are 8 manifests being rendered to the screen. The IIIF manifest reference here for husky will render the search result on screen for husky. And the ID for that manifest has the as IIIF parameter appended to the API endpoint for that specific item. And since this is an items entry within a IIIF collection, we would keep the presentation API properties as minimal as possible. And within this specific manifest, we would only provide a thumbnail and a home page to go alongside with the label, the type, and the ID. This will limit the need for additional requests on the manifest itself, since we're not actually trying to deliver the canvases associated with this manifest. So here's an example of the page for an individual item in our digital collections. At the top is a IIIF viewer rendering the canvases for the manifest. As the user scrolls, the other properties from the IIIF manifest will be rendered to the screen, like metadata, rights, attribution, and more. And at the bottom, we're going to be rendering these related items components. These are also being delivered from responses off of our search API as IIIF. Really, everything referencing an item or collection on this page is being delivered by IIIF presentation API. So imagine that the user earlier had clicked husky from the search results and ended up on the screen or ended up on the page for husky in our digital collections. This page is also going to be rendered from that same manifest that was referenced in our search results. And again, this manifest ID is a request on our API endpoint with the as IIIF parameter appended. So the user explores this page, they scroll down. Below the content for this item is a section of related items organized by metadata. This specific related items for the type being domestic would use that same search endpoint that rendered our search results earlier on our API, and we would provide the responses for these components as a IIIF collection again. But in this case, the request is not a request on a query string, but a match for the parameter of type domestic. This is basically like a facet type response. So what if we had a large response, say like 800 or 8,000 items on any specific request? We would not want to deliver a single IIIF collection or something with a fixed hierarchy for this. So our current method of handling this, since we're using the presentation 3 API, is to iterate through chunks of responses and to request the next page through a page parameter. The next page would be a IIIF collection at the end of each page's items array. This model is not perfect, though does scale well. And we are seeking community prescribed cookbook recipes for handling this in the IIIF community. And that really is the end of our short talk, but thank you for listening, and please check out our work and the repositories and the folks driving it.
That was excellent. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you both for presenting.
I just wanted to add a lot of the components that Matt and Karen talked about are in labs now, including Clover, the player at the top as well, or the viewer at the top, as well as the components that showcase the smaller sort of slider-like collections that were showcased on that page. That's a component called Bloom, also in labs. And of course, Serverless IIIF is out there now, promoted up to core.
Thank you, Jessica. That it's short because it was a play off of our lightning talk, which had to be 7 minutes. So you got the extended version of 10 to 11 because we talked more slowly.
I thought that was really interesting. I've been really excited to see how you're sort of pushing IIIF and exploring new ways of using that. One of the things I think about in a server response is like in thinking about in terms of blacklight, there's a whole bunch of information about the facets and the other sort of access points related to a search. And I can't immediately think of where all that would go in a IIIF manifest. So I was kind of wondering, are you parking that somewhere in the manifest? Are you parsing the query to sort of pull out those other facets and other things, or how does that work?
So the short of it is nothing, or we cannot necessarily fit everything into a IIIF manifest or a collection. That is true. Like your data, or what you want to share on the screen or in your UI, or even your data model that's creating those manifests or IIIF resources are not congruent always, right? And so what we're using presentation 3 API. So we're referencing through a see also property, the API endpoint without the IIIF parameter. And in that, by accessing that, we really have like the full like pipeline, right? Like we can the full faucet, we can get everything that we need from that. And we're building our front end DC through sort of we're using Next.js, which is sort of static generated, but sort of not. But we really have, when we're creating the pages, we're using IIIF as our primary data model for building out UI components, partially because we want to be able to create UI components that everyone can use and aren't just fixed to our data model. And hopefully like Bloom or like that slider component that was being demoed there is something that other people could use if for a IIIF collection, because that's really all it is, that data shape. I'm sorry, this is a long response, but we also have our data running parallel to it in case we need to get into structured data or something that might be a little bit more complex.
Great, thanks.
I just want to add too that like I don't think, and Matt may jump in and be like, no, we do, but I don't think we have plans for actual like search results page on our front end to be powered by IIIF. The collections for us are powering like the related items components and the things that like that component Bloom is using. I don't know that we would be able to really on the search page account for aggregations and facets quite in that way, but that could be short-sighted of me, I guess.
To sort of the yes, and what I think what both Karen and Matt are saying, one of the things from the PO side that I love to dream about is that this allows an end user to fire off, say, a complex query on our site, and by simply like doing an as IIIF, like so they from the front end can fire off a complex query, get a set of results, and then do as IIIF and then build something from that, right? Like against the API. So we can generate manifests against every single search on the fly as a collection, which someone could then take as a starting point or a finishing point to build out an exhibit or whatever else one might want to do with that.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't have a chance in the slideshow to demo that, but like one example is just bringing one of those collection responses or search responses into like Mirador. And you can sort of see how like like just having it as some sort of interoperable data shape could be really beneficial for folks.